In the first video, we covered the basics of Zero Trust, why it's needed, and the shift from traditional security approaches. We're now going to go into more detail on the practicality of implementing a Zero Trust model and the key principles. So in 2020, the National Institute of Standards and Technology released a special publication on Zero Trust architecture called 800-207. NIST is a great US agency that provides standards and guidance on cybersecurity and has done so for years. This document is not a standard, but it's more of a guide for companies who want to learn more about ZTA. Importantly, it's vendor neutral and it's not targeted towards a type or size of organization. It provides things like deployment scenarios and use cases. It outlines strategies and discusses the best ways to protect against common threat methods. The document also defines parts of a zero trust system that are important to discuss. Some of these parts are the policy engine. This makes the access decision based on behaviors and inputs from the policy administrator. The policy administrator provides information like the desired state of the network, which resources are sensitive, and what behaviors are considered unusual. The policy enforcement point is where access requests are granted or denied. This is typically a firewall or a web gateway. Zero trust policies are rules that govern the behavior of the policy engine and enforcement point. The 800-207 is a really great document and it has lots of information for transitioning to a zero trust model. So go check it out. Aside from never trust, always verify, there are a few other points or principles to take away from the publication. As I mentioned before, there isn't a specific number of key principles. Different companies might group some points together and call them the 3 core principles or the 5 principles or even the 12 principles. This really depends on how in depth you want to go into each point. For example, if I was an identity and access management provider, I would put a strong emphasis on user authentication, as this is what my product would probably help with. But I'm not selling anything, so I've split these up into 3 sections according to the points in my last video. These points were least privilege, verify explicitly, and the assumption of breach. So let's go through them in order. Least privilege. For all users, devices, systems, anything that can access resources, permissions should be as limited as possible. For example, I would give HR the documents they need to do the job, but I wouldn't give them access to engineering documents. Monitoring and regular audits. So it's important to regularly review, adjust, and monitor access permissions to ensure they always align with the user's role, but do not give any additional access. Continuous authentication and authorization. So this ensures that user identity and access permissions are not only validated at the point of login, but are validated throughout the entire session. So this is kind of like a security guard who doesn't just check your ID at the door, but he keeps an eye on everyone inside the building until they leave. All data sources and computing services are considered resources. So this is the idea that all network-related assets, be it applications, servers, everything is considered a resource, and they all require protection, not just the most important ones. Multi-factor authentication. Multiple pieces of evidence should be required for authentication or be used as additional verification. Common solutions include biometrics, SMS verification, or hardware tokens. Analytics for visibility and adaptability. You should have complete visibility into all network and system activities for effective monitoring. A tool that can help with this is a security information and event management system, or a SIEM system. SIEM systems can assist in gaining visibility into your network and provide you analytics to work with. Cross-segmentation divides a network into isolated sections, so that a breach in one area does not allow an attacker to access the entire network. Next generation firewalls often have features to help with this. End-to-end encryption. So all data at rest or in transit should be encrypted. This is fairly obvious, but in case data is accessed in an unauthorized manner, the attacker would only get access to the encrypted data. It's important to note that these are just starting points, and depending on your organization, you may want to focus on different areas. For example, if I was a financial institution like a bank, I might choose to really focus on data security and compliance because I'm dealing with a lot of sensitive customer data. So I would focus on encryption technologies and making sure my data is encrypted in rest and in transit properly. But I might be less focused on something like least privilege or segmentation. And that's not to say that these things aren't important for a finance company, but it might be more important to focus on making sure that all my resources are secure and MFA is set up properly before I look into other things. So to summarize, Zero Trust Architecture, or ZTA, is not a standard. It's not a product, and it's not designed for a specific type of organization. It's not just about network security technologies or strategies, but it's a combination of both these things. The NIST 800-207 is a guidance document that any organization can use to help work towards adopting a zero trust framework. And it doesn't have to be a massive overhaul. It can be a phased, gradual approach that slowly enhances your organization's security. Zero trust architecture is a strategic approach to cybersecurity, in particular verification and controlling access to company resources. It's a model that acknowledges potential threats can originate from both inside and outside the company network. Aligning with Zero Trust can help enhance your business's security, its visibility, and its control over its network. I'll put a link in the description below to the NIST publication if you want to read more about it. I will also put a link to my email, so feel free to shoot me a message if you have any questions or would just like to chat. Thanks for watching.